Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ben, and on this channel I talk about stocks, investing, and finance, and I have $27,000 invested into Palantir, so another due diligence video on Palantir. Okay, this piece of news came out January 19, 2021. It's an old press release. Again, I'm digging deep into the company, really trying to understand it and trying to bring that information to you so that you understand more about your investment and so that you can analyze all the different things that exist if you've made an investment into Palantir. This is not financial advice. This is just more information to understand about the company and what the company can do in the future. Palantir is providing California's largest investor-owned utility with technology to help it streamline data management across the company to improve its electrical operations, asset management, enhance electric system safety, and grid reliability. So in January of 2021, Palantir partnered with an electric grid in California by providing them with technology, data, software to enhance safety and reliability. Now, in January 2021, the stock price was running up to like 45. It was like on this crazy run. I didn't really know about the company at that time, so I didn't care too much about it. I was doing other things in January 2021, not investing in Palantir, which is actually a really good thing because now the market corrected heavily, so I didn't end up buying at a very high price. But this is some of the news that was coming out back during that time, which is got people really excited, right? And I'm very excited for when the next run eventually happens because there's going to be more and more data and more news stories that come out that are just like this that are ultimately going to be showing why Palantir is effective and why a lot of companies and organizations are going to be able to use this. So Pacific Gas and Electric Company, PG&E, has initiated deployment of Palantir's Foundry software to provide a single integrated platform to give decision makers a real-time, complete operational picture. Again, another reason I'm doing this video is because it showcases how many different use cases, like case studies there are in the real world for Palantir to be implemented with companies that need to understand their data better, right? So when you talk about this company and deploying the software, you're talking about an integrated platform, a centralized hub where it can kind of like Google search, in this case, Palantir search, all across the data sets that are integrated within the company to make sense of its data and provide better operational pictures to make decisions in real time, especially people that can make decisions in real time that don't have a technical background, right? This is sort of the big thing about Palantir. Now, the use of this novel technology in its early stages of deployment has already enabled PG&E to make effective, timely, data-driven decisions in relationship to its public safety power shutoff program and is intended to further inform its wildfire risk mitigation programs and initiatives in the future. So those two things are important. We have a public safety power shutoff program, and then we have a wildfire risk mitigation program. We're going to talk about both of those things. Now, the reason these things are important is because we're talking about California. California's electric grid, I think I watched a video on this a while ago. California's electric grid is it's almost like a country's electric grid. Like California uses a lot of energy because there's like 45 million people in California, right? So because there's a lot of people in California, very important to understand this. The public safety power shutoff overview is basically when high winds can cause trees or debris to damage electrical lines and cause wildfires. This is where you need to be able to safely shut off the power, communicate to the people in which the power has been shut off, and then ultimately try to create a timeline that can immediately get the power back online in the most safe and predictable ways, right? So usually what happens is there's severe weather forecasted. There is a outage watch. This is where your phone gets an alert of like, hey, things might be going on. Then the outage warning is happening. This is where outages are required. That's where you ultimately get the warning. The power gets shut off. This is during severe weather. Power shut off to affected areas to prevent wildfire. This is really important because if power is on when there is disaster stuff happening, then that combination can get really bad because wildfire is more likely to happen if energy systems are on and there's a lot of wind, right? Wind and energy really don't work that well. A lot of times fires are created because of that. Then you have updates and inspection. This is after the weather has improved. Our crews inspect electric lines to restore power to affected communities as quickly and safely as possible. And then you have the power restored. The final two parts, the updates and inspections and then the power restored, I think is where a lot of the data happens. A lot of the data integration happens. A lot of where Palantir's software starts to make sense. You have lots of communities, ultimately at the end of the day, that need to get more power. And when the power is shut off, they need to have communication of when the power is going to be on, and they need to have inspections within their own local municipalities and towns in order to know when the power is ultimately going to come back. That requires a lot of synthesization of data, right? Because like, here's a really simple use case. Which town do I go to first, right? Let's say there's a huge public emergency. There's a lot of bad weather. There's like a mild tornado happening in this area, but there's two different towns. This town has more people without power. This town has less people without power, but the people less without the people that don't have power are more at risk for being hurt by the tornado, even though they're less in terms of the overall sizes of the population. Which towns do I focus on first? What resources do I give to the towns? Which parts do I inspect of the towns? If I go into the town, are there certain segments of the town that I can talk to better because in the past they've dealt with this, so they can give us on the ground data on how to deal with this stuff? How do gas prices and local stores become affected by all this power outage in order to get people basic necessities like milk and bread and all this stuff that they need for given how long it lasts? How is this going to affect the global macro economy? Because what if this town creates a lot of stuff that's really important for this city? This city creates a lot of stuff that's important for this state. This state has to export. Like, there are so many use cases in which if you had a centralized hub, a Google, that could just tell you the answer to these questions and give you real-time data, then you have a much more operational, effective model for how to deal with these different types of things, especially when it comes to restoring affected communities within 24 to 48 hours of the power actually passing. Now, the CEO, Oliver Franch, said, "Our engagement with California's largest investor-owned utility underlines our commitment to increasing safety and reliability for customers and communities across the region. It shows our Foundry software can power data-driven decisions that aim to improve service delivery," which at the end of the day is a real important reason for why Palantir is working with this electric grid in California. This is a multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract, and it marks the first time that Palantir's software is actually being used by a major U.S. utilities operations. Now, this is the part that really gets me excited. There are tons, like tons of these electric grid PG&E companies. These are companies that maintain public service and make sure the electrical grid makes sense. So I'm in New Jersey, and PSE&G, I forgot what it stands for, but that's the main company that most people in New Jersey use, which is, California has their version, Indiana has their version, New York has their version. If you could imagine Palantir gaining multi-year, multi-million-dollar contracts with all of these electrical grids, power, energy that work all throughout the United States, and then these same electrical grids exist in Italy, in Germany, and all the different towns and cities that are in Germany, and Palantir starts integrating with all of them, you've got something big, right? You've got something really big. You've got something in which everyone is using a Google search to get information. Everyone in the world is using Palantir to or every company is using Palantir's Foundry software to optimize their data decision models, right? That's why I was really bullish on this piece of news that came out. Now, this also says that in the future, Palantir plans for Foundry to include expanding to inform asset risk and outage investigation, eventually bringing in data from all aspects of the company's operations to enable enterprise analytics and process improvement across the entire industry, which is going to be a really, really important thing. Now, this is also important in the context of wildfire risk mitigation systems. Wildfire risk mitigation systems exist in California because California is known to have a lot of wildfires, but other places are known to have a lot of other problems, right? So, I don't know, places in Florida are more known to have hurricanes, right? Because they're in the southern part of the United States, and having data on how to deal with hurricanes, having data on how to understand how to optimize to prevent the worst damages of hurricanes. There's tons and tons of use cases, as you can tell. California with wildfires, hurricanes with Florida, every other state that has its own problems that they're dealing with, right? You're talking about Texas and its problems with snow, where Ted Cruz, went to Mexico on a vacation and the energy grid got frozen, right? And some people ended up, really getting hurt by that. These are all things where if you have software at the center integrated within these companies and these organizations to make better decisions faster and more efficient and in a more effective way, then you've got a really, really big market opportunity ultimately for Palantir to attack. And that's why it also makes me excited, because I'm like, okay, Palantir can go and attack these things, right? These aren't just pie in the sky things. These are things that it can go after, be like, hey, we worked with the electrical grid in California. We really improved their system. Here's the case study. Here's why you should let us integrate with you. And it's high margins because the software is already ready and the software is already just getting better over time. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Palantir providing technology to enhance safety and reliability with the electrical grid in California. Old news, important news to understand as you're making your decisions on if you want to invest in the company and ultimately what you want to understand about the company long-term and its trajectory. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. My name is Amit. This is the Daily Business Show. As always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.